Russia shocked. Japan secretly donated 100 vehicles to Ukraine. An unexpected twist in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has left the international community stunned. Japan, known for its pacifist stance, has secretly donated 100 military vehicles to Ukraine. This covert act of support has caught Russia off guard, raising questions about Japan's evolving role in the global arena and the potential repercussions for the delicate balance of power in the region. So let's jump into the video to get to know more detail. On May 24th, Japan staged a ceremony to honor its planned transfer of approximately 100 military vehicles to Ukraine. Tokyo is attempting to offer Ukraine equipment that can have a wider range of military applications than the helmets and hazmat suits that it has previously shipped. During a ceremony that took place at the Ministry of Defense, Japanese Vice Defense Minister Toshiro Ino presented Ukrainian Ambassador Sergei Korsunsky with a document that detailed the three categories of vehicles that were contributed as part of the contribution. The ceremony also featured the display of 2 half-ton trucks. According to what Ino had said, "We hope the invasion ends as soon as possible and that peaceful daily lives return. We will assist to the fullest extent that we are able." The donation, which also consists of 30,000 food rations, is being made at a time when the government of Japan is attempting to relax its policy regarding the transfer of military equipment through a new national security policy. This policy allows Japan's armed forces to play a greater offensive role, marking a significant departure from its post-World War II self-defense only principle. While other nations have sent Ukraine tanks, missiles, and fighter jets, Japan has restricted its donations to non-lethal weaponry. This is because Japan's transfer policy restricts the provision of lethal weapons to countries that are currently engaged in armed conflict. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine began a year ago, Japan has sent that country food rations, bulletproof vests, helmets, gas masks, and hazmat suits, along with tiny drones and other military equipment. When Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met on Sunday in Hiroshima on the sidelines of the Group of Seven summit, Mr. Kishida committed to providing the trucks to Mr. Zelensky. Additionally, Japan has extended an invitation to treat wounded Ukrainian service members at a military hospital in Japan. According to the official statement from the government, the vehicles include material handling vehicles, high mobility vehicles, and half-ton trucks. According to the Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics Agency, the specifics such as the precise quantity of vehicles and the timeline for when they would be shipped are currently being worked out. In response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Japan has joined the United States and other European nations in imposing sanctions on Russia and offering humanitarian and economic assistance to Ukraine. Japan was fast to react because of fears of a possible impact on the conflict in East Asia, where China's military has grown increasingly assertive and has heightened tensions around self-governed Taiwan, which Beijing claims is its territory. Over $7 billion in aid has been provided by Japan to Ukraine. Additionally, it's taken in over 2,000 displaced Ukrainians and assisted them in the areas of housing, employment, and education, which is an unusual action for a country that is known for its stringent immigration policy. What is it that prevents Japan from delivering weapons to Ukraine? Well, let's talk about it. But before we do, drop your bomb now on the subscribe button and be a member of our exclusive military family. Japan is the only member of the G7 that cannot ship lethal weapons to Ukraine, although there is growing support for a complete revision of current export regulations for military hardware. Despite public resistance and tensions between the Liberal Democratic Party and its coalition partner Komeito, the government coalition agreed last week to hold negotiations on the topic around the end of this month. In December, the standards were slightly revised so that Japan could send protective gear to Kiev. This was done on the assumption that Ukraine had been the victim of a violation of international law. To bring Japan in line with its European and North American allies, the government is currently considering expanding the scope of exports to include lethal weapons. Some members of the LDP appear to support a change which could provide a much-needed boost to Japan's defense sector. However, the coalition's junior partner, the pacifist Komeito, is urging caution. "We have no intention of spreading Japanese weaponry all over the world despite their impressive capabilities," Natsuo Yamaguchi, leader of the Komeito party, said during an April 4th press conference that it is crucial to establish confidence in fundamental rules so as not to incite unintended expansion. As of April 4th, Japan had given roughly 5.66 billion euros in financial help to Ukraine, according to figures from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy. Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi promised to give an additional $7.5 billion when he met with his Ukrainian colleague last Tuesday. That would cement Japan's position as Ukraine's second largest monetary donor behind the United States, whose unrivaled dedication has thus far determined the conflict's outcome. On the other hand, among the G7 countries, Japan stands out for its lack of concrete military support. Non-intervention, according to Naoki Inose, Upper House Secretary General for Nippon Ishin no Kai and former governor of Tokyo, risks a replay of the situation more than 30 years ago, when Japan declined to send any military help to Kuwait during the Gulf War. 30 years later, we haven't made real progress and we're still restraining ourselves, said Inose, pushing for a comprehensive review of the standards. The Japanese Communist Party and the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan are among the parties that are opposed to reform, but there is also significant public opposition. Tokyo was prevented by international law from joining the U.S.-led military coalition that was sent to Kuwait after Iraq's invasion in August 1990. Japan donated massive financial contributions totaling $13 billion at the time to make up for its incapacity to participate, which was more than $10,000 for every Japanese citizen. The international community's condemnation of Japan's checkbook diplomacy only intensified during and after the war. As a result, Japan was left out of a post-war advertisement in U.S. media channels in which the Kuwaiti government expressed gratitude to the coalition for its intervention. Disappointment and anger grew as a result of the government's delay, which sparked heated debate over the role of the self-defense forces. Since the Peacekeeping Operations Law was passed in 1992, Tokyo has been able to send its forces abroad many times in response to growing calls for the SDF's role and capabilities to be expanded. Hey, before moving any further, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel as we come back to our video. Even though Japan was at the height of its relative economic might during the Gulf War, and the Middle East had greater strategic significance compared with Ukraine, conservative political voices argue that the proximity of Russia to Japan means the current conflict should warrant a greater sense of urgency and push Japan into uncharted territory. Nippon Ishin has chosen to send 20 pickup trucks and supplies of canned food to Ukraine on its initiative, utilizing a portion of its lawmaker stipends to break the current gridlock and encourage the government to increase its intervention in the war. As long as these pickup trucks aren't being used to transport machine guns, there should be no problem, Inose added. The recipient can decide whether or not to put them to such use. We're good so long as we don't sell the trucks for that purpose. On the opposite side of the political spectrum, liberal forces are skeptical of any major shift in Japan's outward stance, since they are traditionally loyal to Japan's pacifism and place a high weight on the war-renouncing constitution. The vast majority of Japanese citizens do not support the idea of sending military aid to Ukraine. A Nikkei poll from February found that 76% of respondents were against Japan exporting weapons to Ukraine, while only 16% thought the country should go ahead with the deal. Japan must maintain its commitment to self-defense. Shoichi Kondo, a member of the Japanese parliament from the Constitutional Democratic Party, argued that employing violence to achieve peace was futile. At its core, I disagree with the policy of selling military hardware to other countries. The three principles on the transfer of defense equipment and technology reflect Japan's post-war commitment to peace by virtually prohibiting the export of weapons or defense equipment to countries engaged in war. To facilitate the supply of weapons to countries regarded as security partners, including the United States, the standards were revised in 2014. The change might have been more drastic, if not for restrictions such as extensive checks of the equipment's usage. Kondo explained that the limitations were put in place because Japan was resisting pressure from other countries to ship military hardware abroad. Crisis mentality is crucial, but we're not there yet. Hey, that's all for the video today. Have you dropped your bomb on the subscribe button yet? If not, what are you waiting for? Drop it now and be a member of our exclusive military family.